Alright, so namespace maps names to objects. It's just like when you create a file x equal y, y equals 10, and so on and so forth. When we assign values, it actually creates a map in a memory. And just like there is a map of this campus, we have a dedicated address for each location. So for example, 305 is the address of this classroom. Similarly, when we write a file or write a code, we have to store 5 into some location in a memory. So memory also has some addresses, okay? But Python will give this an alias. So that, for example, 305 is a location where this value 5 is stored. So Python would give it a name x. Okay, so whenever you call x, it will jump to that particular location and grab the value. So it's just a normal Python dictionary where these variables act as keys and their values are actual values that you assign them. So you can, in your Python program, you can use these two built-in functions, locals and globals. So you can simply write print, and you can write locals within print, and it will give you what are the local variables in your file. Okay? Even though you may not have defined anything in your file, it's just a file that you have created, Python file. When you run print locals within it, it will give you the list of local variables. And you may see that there are some variables which you haven't defined, but they are there, and that are referred as the built-in variables, built-in objects. Same is the case with the global function. You can try that out yourself. I'm not going to do it, but just for your information. The scope resolution. So we talked about the scope, that area of a code where a name is visible. So for example, if I declare a variable x in line number, let's say 5, so the scope of x starts from line number 5 all the way until the end of the program. Okay, this is what we call a scope. So when we create a file, Python file, there are at least 3 nested namespaces are active at any point of program execution. Okay, so the first one is global, contains all globally defined names outside function. Another one is local. We have already talked about it. Anything that is defined inside function is generally referred as local, and that space is called local namespace. Okay. If you do not have a function definition, then all the variables are referred as local as well. Okay, so same as global if no functions are defined. Built-in contains built-in names of Python, example integer, string, input function, print function. So you have already experienced that. So in last class I talked about you can only use a function when you define it already, right? You can only use a variable when you have already defined it. Agreed? When you have defined x equals something, only then you can use the value of x later in your program. But we have been regularly using print, input, integer. Have we defined it somewhere in our code? No, so they are already defined, and where they are defined is generally referred as built-in namespace, because these are built-in functions. Okay, you do not need to define them, they are predefined. Okay, so what happens is when a name is referenced, Python interpreter checks the namespace in the following order: local namespace, global namespace, and then built-in namespace. So for example, you have this file created, let's say test.py, and then something, and then definition, maybe func, whatever it is, and then you have, let's say, print function. Okay, and then you have another piece of code. So when you call this function, so Python interpreter, what it says that Python interpreter will first look for the function definition, because it does not know what is print. It will look for the function definition within this space, which is called the local namespace. It will not find the definition, of course, of print function in this space, so it will expand its search, and it will search for the definition within this space called global namespace. Okay? And of course, for the print function, it will not find the definition of print function either in the global namespace. So it will go beyond the global namespace and it will search for it in the built-in namespace. This is where it will find the definition of print function. Okay? So once it finds, it will use that. If it does not find, then it will throw off an error. So for example, I use something let's say y equals x plus 3. So it will look for x within this namespace, local. It will not find the value of x. It will look into the global namespace. It will not find it there. It will look into the built-in namespace. And it will not find it there. Then it will throw off a name error. So when you see name error, it passes through this procedure. Okay? Local, global, and then built-in. And then if it does not find in either of these places, then it is throw off an error, name error. Okay? So this process of searching the definition is generally referred as scope resolution.